Yeah. Hey, do yo. Trophied up. Yeah. Hey, do yo. Trophied up. Do your dance when the G's up. G. Spaced out. Got me geeked up. 10 toes on the west. Can I beat us? You cannot. Shining every time they meet us. Rack 'em up. Since 96. Yeah. Been number one in LA. Something slight. That's the gist.
Welcome everyone. Talking Galaxy Season 2. We are here. Man, it's been a while. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm good. Like you said, it has been a while. I think I said in our latest podcast episode that the Galaxy did us so bad in this last season that I needed a mental break. I'm assuming you guys also needed that mental break just a little bit, instead of spewing nonsense on camera.
Yeah, absolutely. It hits a point in a season where it's just like, we got to take a little break from this. We got to get our heads back together, get our heads straight.
Right.
And we're going to reassess this. And we're here now. We're back. We'll have a tab on future weeks, of course, and Galaxy memes as well. Diego Fagundez will be the guest appearance on this podcast. He'll be on around 8:30. So, just stick around with us in the meantime. Trust me, we got some interesting dialogue going on. Also, we got Andrew. What's up, Andrew?
Let's go. Andrew
Can you hear us? Are you with us?
Earth to Andrew.
Okay. He'll figure out his mic situation, but for now, we still can't hear you. We still got plenty of news to go over, and we're gonna start on a depressing note and build ourselves up because you can't really hide it. We can't go further in the show without talking about it. My keyboard's tweaking. Hold on, I'm just gonna turn that off. Okay. Do you guys hear that?
Yeah, you have the Microsoft pinging.
yeah, that's funny. Okay, all right, we're gonna disconnect that. We're starting as great as possible this season. But bad news. 2 days. That is not the bad news. That is the intro. 2 days into the new year, we've learned that Riqui Puig will be out the remainder of 2026. Now, where were you guys when you got this news? We'll start with you, Dylan, and we'll see if Andrew's mic's working.
I'm trying to think. Gosh, when did that drop again? What day?
Sorry, it feels like January 2nd, I believe.
January 2nd. I was at work, I believe, and I was sitting in my very lonely cubicle because nobody was there because it was the 2nd, and I was like almost in tears. It was the worst day ever. Like, not only did I have to work the day after New Year's, but I also was sitting there like my glorious king is gone.
Yeah, my glorious king. Yeah. I'm still a little in disbelief, honestly. It just feels a little surreal that he's not gonna play for the Galaxy because I feel like the expectation, everything going into the season, we'll go over the Hack and Galesnes signings, but they make those signings, you're like, wow, we might be a contender again. This might be the 2023 to 2024 leap all over again. Except now it's looking a little more like 2025, but we'll try to be optimistic and go over some potential things the Galaxy can do later in the podcast. But look, they had a Riqui Road to Recovery series going on. I was watching that. I was watching the episodes. You saw him post on his Instagram, 2025 tried to tear me down. 2026, but something like I'm not playing, I never left. Type of thing where it's like, okay, he's gonna be back, and he's gonna be back with some vengeance. This guy's ready. And then out of nowhere, you just get that notification from Tom Bogert, and I'm like, yeah, okay, man. It's the Galaxy luck. Can we say we're cursed at this point? we sacrificed everything for that MLS Cup. So yeah, Dylan,
we are cursed. Now that's a good way of putting it. I've never actually. I don't think I've sat with the idea that it's our fault. We did something. Yeah. We upset some god somewhere to hurt Riqui. I don't know. It's killer. It's killer from just a team building perspective, from a player perspective. I talked about him just as a human being and how we kind of have become desensitized to the idea that these humans are like athletes, and the injury itself, I couldn't imagine going through one of the most difficult injuries that a human can go through, right? You lose the ability to walk. You have to learn to walk again. And he has had to go under the knife again and had to restart that whole process. The mental strain on a human being, I couldn't even imagine. So I first want to, before talking anything past Riqui, I hope that he gets as healthy as possible as soon as possible, and we get to see him on a pitch right when 2027 hits, because we should have seen him right when 2026 hit.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Andrew, is that mic working now? Let's try it.
Man, I'm not sure. Subaru is playing with me. You guys got me?
We got you.
Sweet, sweet. Awesome. I appreciate that, guys. What was the question?
Just talking about Riqui Puig's injury and kind of, the mental strain on that as him as a person, having to come back twice now from an ACL surgery. Just your initial thoughts. Where were you when this happened?
I'm so sorry. But we're talking about Riqui, where we were when all that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Obviously, I think there's really no other way to say it. When I would come out with my articles, especially, this off-season stuff that we're talking about, with the signings that were there, the potential was just absurd for the Galaxy this season. It really felt like we were starting to come back, really just come back in general, but really fixing for the first time in more than 10 years one of the major liabilities we had in that defense with Jakob Glesnes, with Justin, these massive signings filling in big holes, and you add Riqui Puig to that, and the outlook just completely changed from what the 2025 Galaxy was. So to say that blow is, debilitating, it's, there's no way to emphasize, I don't think, exactly how detrimental this is to the Galaxy season. I had just gotten back home from California. I was, enjoying the rain, excited to be back, ready to start the new year. I was just having such a good time talking about the Galaxy, just enjoying myself. But that was a pretty major bummer. And I mean, anemically as well, you think Dylan works with another podcast, and they had a kind of a sports doctor on. He made a really interesting point talking about the ACL injury as a mental injury, where you have to retrain not just your body, but your mind to trust yourself and to become the same player you are. And, Riqui Puig, you talked about it, Peyton, all the posts he had, like he seems to be like kind of a mentality monster. When as soon as he can, he's ready to work. So I'm not too worried about that, but it's just incredible. As soon as you start feeling like you're getting back, to get chopped down like that. I mean, it's probably the worst case of blue balls you've ever gotten. I remember spraining my ankle and not being able to play for like 2-3 weeks. And I remember my feet just itching to get back on a pitch. So I can't imagine how he's feeling another entire year. So again, you just can't overstate how much this sucks from a team perspective, from a person perspective. But it does open some pretty interesting things to think about, especially now that we know he's going to be out all year. What are we going to do with the SEI potentially, bringing in someone else in? I imagine, the Carson office is pretty busy right about now. So all we can really do is sit back, keep on putting our faith in Kuntz, him and the team.
I think we lost you, Andrew.
Lost you.
We're gonna let him work on that for a second. We'll get him back up shortly here. But yeah, no, what he said, I totally agree with. It's a mental thing. It really is. And I don't put it past Riqui Puig to come back better, just with the type of guy he is. But looking into your crystal ball and saying that he will, he's going to be on a contract year. His contract expires December of 2027. So in the middle of the season, in the middle of the first fall to spring calendar season. Oh yeah, we weren't, welcome to season 2. We have a fall to spring calendar now, guys. Look, that's going to be so weird with contracts, seeing like teams get dismantled like in winter. But hey, he's one of those players. I feel like the trajectory of his career was looking so bright after MLS Cup. You were thinking like, man, this guy's going to Europe. Like this guy's like, he's going to do big things. He's going to go back after, a stint with Barca. And he's going to land up wherever and just dominate. Like he's that kind of guy with that mentality that he always wanted to go back to Europe. Look, this is looking way too far forward, but I feel like this kind of solidifies himself as an MLS lifer at best, which just hurts, man. But do you agree with that? Do you think there is a possibility where, he could come back and get himself into Europe again, or is he damaged goods?
I don't want to say he's damaged goods. I think that footballers of that ability, especially at his age, can always get back to it at some point. I just don't know. That's a lot of time off the field. 2 straight years. Let's just say he ramps back up in 2027 and he's just as good. Is the team going to take a risk when he'll be 28, 27, 28?
Yeah, he'll be 28.
Yeah.
He'll be going on 28. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I want to say that in the most selfish way possible, I think it makes him a Galaxy player for life for as long as he's able to play. And also I think that with the goodwill of the Galaxy, he might not even want to leave. He's got it pretty good. Like, I know people always talk about going back to Europe, but I don't know. I think Riqui really likes it here. I think he's got a major understanding of the league and his importance to the league that while at the beginning, I think it was always go back to Europe. He may have never been thinking of that as a statement for himself anymore. He may have already proved to himself he was as good as he wanted to be.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you always think of Riqui as like that, like young little spunky guy. This really changes the way that he plays. I mean, it's not FIFA, going on 28 isn't necessarily old. In fact, most players hit their prime around there, but it's just, it really hurts more so the fact that like he's such an agile player. The type of midfielder that Riqui Puig is as a playmaker, it relies so much on his agility. He's a little guy. He's a little agile guy. He could turn quickly in and out of tight spaces, and just work his magic on the ball. It's going to take a long time for him to even get back to that point when he does come back, going on 2027 when he makes that return to the team. By the way, I've seen some people say, hey, just cut your losses with Riqui. I don't think that's an option. Why would he do that? And like, why would he not stay out his whole 2027 year when he knows that? I guarantee he's not going to be able to get that money elsewhere. It just doesn't make sense for the Galaxy to buy it out. It doesn't make sense for Riqui. Whether you like it or not, Riqui Puig is on this roster in 2027. So I think the real thing you look at now is, the effect that it has on him as a player. Do you want to go into that a bit more, Dylan? On how it affects his play style,
Sure.
2 ACLs.
Absolutely. I mean, Andrew was alluding to it very early on with the conversation that the sports doctor had with our good friends We Are Soccer, that it's a mental injury to the same extent that it is a physical injury. And for Riqui to learn how to play again, and the mental idea of not only did he already get the whole 12-month thing and had built up the mental strength to trust his body again, it now has failed him.
Yeah.
So now he's got to mentally get back up to, and he is a mentality monster, so he might just do it naturally, but to trust your body after it's failed you now twice, that's tough on its own. And I think the game, and we've seen this with Rodri, and I don't know if a lot of people watch the Premier League
Same
here, but
doctor.
It is the same doctor, isn't it?
Yep.
The game just moves a little faster than it did when you watch Rodri in the past. And I think that's the one thing that Ricky's going to have to learn is the game would speed up for everyone else while Riqui was in complete control. And now I think Ricky's going to have to fight to learn the pace of the game again, especially just being off for 2 years. I think that's the biggest mental hurdle. Is I don't think the ability on the ball will change. I don't think his play necessarily will change because his passing array is pretty disgusting. And I think that doesn't really leave you. But the idea of in tight spaces when you're used to getting the shit kicked out of you and you're having to learn to trust the mobility and the balance of just, hey, I took a small hit to my hip and now I'm off balance. Can I trust my knee again? That's where it's really going to affect his game. And that you can only learn that once you're on the pitch playing 90s. And we're not going to see, it's crazy to think we're going to go 2 calendar years almost without seeing Riqui Puig play a match.
Andrew, can you let's try this. Oh boy.
Every time we get right to the good stuff.
It's okay.
Every
All
time we get right to the good stuff.
We'll try again with him. We'll try again with Andrew. But yeah, I mean, put it in the chat. Very good point. 20% of ACL surgeries fail. You know,
Yeah.
it's not exactly uncommon. It's just a really, really, really bad like luck type of thing, you know, where it's like, but you're right. My question here is honestly, and from the way Riqui Puig made it sound, you know, from his Instagram post or whatever, it seems like he just came in for a checkup and they were like, oh, and by the way, that surgery you had over a year again, it didn't work. We're gonna have to redo this again. I don't buy that completely. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here throwing around what I think happened, because I don't know I don't know what happened. I don't think anyone knows what happens besides the Galaxy, and God knows they're not gonna say. So you know, what happened? Like, what happened, and why are the Galaxy so reluctant to say what happened? Is something that's honestly bothering me a little bit. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Dylan?
I'm struggling to understand the late response to all of it, but maybe they're protecting him. They're protecting something that he did. I don't want to make assumptions on anyone. And I also don't really. The problem with Ricky's post is it's in Spanish and all the stuff that I don't know any Spanish, unfortunately. I can't say I do. Andrew knows this very well. So I can't assume anything from any of his statements. And so I'm going into this completely blind with the idea that he had an ACL injury. Like the comment said, 20% of them fail, and he just had shit luck. I mean, 20% for a medical injury of that, you know, standard that's pretty high. And so it could have happened on anything. He could have been walking down the stairs, tweaked his ankle, tweaked his knee, and then you're cooked. So I don't want to make the assumption that there was malice from any side of this party. I'm hoping the Galaxy didn't do anything and their doctors weren't tricking Riqui into playing a season. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And I don't want to think that the doctors over there, which are highly rated doctors, are trying to mess with him either. And I don't want to assume that Riqui did something to hurt his contract, because they're still going to complete it. And if there was malice in that sense, they would void his contract. They wouldn't pay him, was it 7 million, 8 million for him to not play if that was the case. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
It's the salsa dancing, man. I tell you. All right, Andrew. Hey, let's try this one more time.
Yeah, hopefully I think we're good now.
Okay.
But you guys let me know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think just echoing what Dylan said, it's really, we just don't know. You don't want to assume that like he injured it playing golf or something like that. Like, I don't think Riqui is doing anything that really put himself into major risk. The biggest thing really is that this isn't a normal ACL injury. This is an ACL injury that he played on for 30 minutes after rupturing it. Yep. And that's going to cause some complications as well. It's not exactly straightforward. And from what we got from a couple of insiders, if you guys are in the Corner of the Galaxy Discord, we have our friend Alex in there. He's part of the Galaxy Council, I believe. And, you know, he's brought some great information. And really what they brought to the table is that it was as simple as it's the same discomfort, the same pain that he's been feeling since October. It was reported around that time in October that he was feeling that. But I think the feeling was that with continued recovery, with a couple of months down the line, he would be feeling better. But the prognosis, unfortunately, just wasn't the case. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it could really go back to him just playing those extra 30 minutes, you know, getting us all the way to the MLS Cup final. If it cost him 2 years like of his prime, I don't think there's anything left to do but thank him for sacrificing that. But it's just, you know, when we talk about how cursed we are, that's kind of maybe that deal we made with the devil that Riqui took on himself. He gave up his ACL, he gave up 2 years, but he did what it took to get us that MLS Cup. So it's a really difficult situation. But I think it just comes down to the type of injury it was. Playing 30 minutes, I don't think on any type of sprained ligament is going to help your prognosis in the long run. And it might just add on an extra year to your recovery, unfortunately, and that might just be the case.
Yeah, just really disappointing news. Only, you know, wish the best for Riqui in his recovery. I know in the Riqui Road to Recovery series, you know, one of the first things he said was, I don't need to see what happened. I think about it every night before I go to sleep. Wow, like what a powerful statement. And I could only imagine what he's going through. He talked about how it was the worst week of his life. This has just got to absolutely, cause him so much, psychological, stress. And just, man, I pray to God this guy comes back better. And if there's anybody that can, it's this guy, like, get that statue started, guys. Get that statue in the works. If I'm Will, if I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, when can we start that statue for you? What kind of guy sacrifices his potential career longevity? Knowing he knew that his knee was messed up and he still made that sacrifice. Just what a guy Riqui Puig is. And just wish him all the well-being in his recovery. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the Galaxy go from here. I mean, we'll go over that later in the podcast, but it seems like the ability to change to a 4U22 two designated player type of thing, looking through the MLS rules, it's kind of like cloudy. Man, I wish we had clearer rules, little sidetrack here. What Inter Miami is doing is diabolical right now. Like, I'm just going to be honest. They re-signed Allende. They got Maciel, former Houston Dynamo center back. They're only getting better. We win MLS Cup. We have to get worse because of the salary cap constraints. Look, where is this coming from? Like, where is this coming from? Now, look, I'm not accusing them of cheating, but I'm saying, can MLS be more transparent about what team's cap space looks like? Because if I'm Will Kuntz, I'm pissed. I'm looking at this and I'm pissed because I'm like, okay, you made us lose Mark Delgado, a young center back in Jalen Neal, Gaston Brugman, Dejan Joveljic. You made us lose all of these guys after we win MLS Cup. And when it's Inter Miami, they can just keep going. Sign the goalkeeper of the year. Sign the goalkeeper of the year. Sign an elite center back. Get that former Tottenham left back, sign him to replace Jordi Alba. Do whatever you want, and they still have a DP spot. It's just, man, I know that the Galaxy kind of used to tweak the rules in the past, and maybe it's rich coming from a Galaxy fan, but man, just looking at some of the moves around the league, I don't know. That's gotta leave a little salt in the wound of Will Kuntz. What do you think, Dylan?
I'm unk enough to remember when the David Beckham rule came into effect. So I think I've seen this from the league in general. Like, this is something they do. And
yeah,
unfortunately, I wish that I could say that there was like them breaking rules or they were going through loopholes. Like, Inter Miami already got in trouble once with the league for cheating.
Yeah.
It already happened. And now they are just actively not bending the rules, but what they're doing is they're saying, hey, we have the greatest player of all time, right? And you're going to want to come play here for much cheaper than you will if you were to go play in Charlotte. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to make Charlotte pay you a lot more to not live in Miami and not play with Messi, who's probably going to make you a title favorite every year. So it's less of them being like cheaters and more of the fact that they just have Messi. And that's what stings is I'm like, screw these guys. They keep picking up all the best players. And it's like, well, this Messi thing kind of makes everything unfair.
Yeah. Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, again, Dylan's just killing it. I was kind of thinking of this idea that as a Galaxy fan, you see these signings that Miami are making after winning the MLS Cup, like you mentioned, Payton, right after we won the MLS Cup and we got demolished, devastated as a team. It brings up the question, is Miami, doing so much better at us in the administrative side and the salary side that this just, it's night and day what the Galaxy's kind of their next window after a Cup season versus Inter Miami's. It's like, did we drop the ball somewhere? Did we not do something? But knowing Will Kuntz and knowing our management, which to be fair, it's not as constructed as it is now. Knowing Will Kuntz, who helped write a lot of these rules that we're talking about. I don't think that's the case. There wasn't any loophole untouched. I think what Dylan mentioned is just having Messi makes it so much easier to sign top talent. They could offer me, they can make me pay to join their team to play with Messi. You know what I mean? So that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Kuntz is literally the cap wizard. Like, that's what he's been labeled as. Like, he's bended all of the rules to make it work. Like, he did that at LAFC a ton. So if he couldn't get it to work at the Galaxy, it has nothing to do with that. It's just the simple fact of, like, the goaltender of the year. If he was offered the chance to go play with Riqui Puig, he's probably like, I mean, I guess, like,
Yeah.
but like, are you going to pay me a good chunk of money here? And then it was like, oh, you can go play with Messi. And he's like, dude, I can go play with like the most decorated player in the sport. Like, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the spotlight you get, the eyes you get on you, you know, there's a lot of people from Europe watching, you know, Messi games, I'm sure. A lot of scouts, you know, a lot of people who pay attention to what goes on in Miami, more so than anybody else in MLS, which is why St. Clair turned down, you know, record money for a Minnesota United player. So, you know, transitioning a little bit out of that, you know, it's getting me worked up a little.
Fair enough.
You know, our special guest joined the club in 2023 via trade with Austin FC. MLS Cup champion, you know, played a huge role in the Galaxy achieving their 2024 MLS Cup. MLS veteran, by the way. This guy's been in the league for an incredible amount of time. He knows it from inside and out. Just an absolute pleasure to have a player of his, you know, quality and stature on the podcast. You know, Diego Fagundez will be our guest today, and I think we have him with us now. Are you there, Diego?
Yeah, what's up, guys?
What's going on?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Good.
We're doing as good as we can with the Riqui news right now.
I know, it's actually pretty sad.
Yeah. Any initial thoughts or?
No, it's just I think it got everybody off guard. I think everybody was expecting him to come back, and you know, everybody was excited for him to be back. And just to hear that, it's very sad. I know I messaged him a couple of times, and he replied and stuff. And all we can do is just show the support and just know that we're all there for him, and that's all we can do right now. But it's bad news for everybody at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, that goes without saying. I mean, just, you know, you played alongside him, you know, the connection that you two had on the field. One of the most iconic photos after, you know, that Western Conference final is you going up to Riqui while he's just face planted on the floor. It's just absolutely devastating, but we're going to talk about happier things now. We're going to move on to happier topics. Diego, I want to start off here by saying, obviously the MLS Cup, you know, after the 2014 season, being on the opposite end of it to being able to get your first with the Galaxy, gotta be a top moment for you. Do you have a favorite moment at the club outside of winning MLS Cup that maybe stands out to you?
No, I think the best moment is definitely winning MLS Cup. Like you said, I think 10 years later to the date, to the time, and losing in 2014 was, I remember just walking down the tunnel and just being sad. Tears came down my face, knowing that you were so close, but not close enough. And it's just sad. And then 10 years later to be able to play at home with the Galaxy and win it, it was something so special that I think people don't understand how hard it is to win MLS Cup. You can go all year being undefeated, and then you lose that one game and you don't win. So it's tough. So you need to make sure that when those things happen, you take it for granted and you actually enjoy those moments and you celebrate as hard as you can, because like it happened to us. Look at the next year. It wasn't our best year, and I think we can all look back to it and say what happened. All we needed to do was probably win 3 games out of the first 16, and then we're in playoffs again. And that's the hard part to take. It's a hard pill to swallow, because when you look back, you're like, there was games that we should have won and we didn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Dylan, do you have a question?
Yeah. First, I want to say it's a pleasure speaking with you, and we really appreciate your time coming on here and speaking to just 3 fans of the club and big fans of you in general. So thank you. The question that I have is, you've spent in the locker room with some of probably great teammates with your time with the Galaxy. So my question is, who is the best player in terms of banter? The one that you think is the funniest, if you had to pick one teammate of yours in the locker room.
Oh, we got a lot of them. I can tell you that. Who's Gaston Brugman was definitely a big one. The guy was just class act, and he was always trying to get everybody happy, outgoing. Martin Cáceres too. This guy, he's probably the top one actually. There's no one better than him. Like, the guy never wanted to wear pants in the locker room. Even if he could train without pants, he would. That's the kind of person he was. But he was always trying to hug people, make sure people were happy, try to get laughs out of people, especially when people were having tough times. He was the first person that would go up to them. But I would definitely say he's definitely the one. But after that, we definitely have a lot of them. I know Marco's one of them. Ricky's one of them. He might be shy and on camera and everything all different, but when he's in the locker room, this guy likes to joke around.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Hopefully, Mr. Cáceres was hugging you with his pants on. Andrew, do you have a question?
Yeah, you talked a little bit about Martin Cáceres. He's someone who comes to mind. You talked about the support that he gives other players. I remember last season when Emilio Garces, he had a knee injury, I believe, an ankle injury after a game. And I stayed after a press conference working on an article, and I see him and Martin Cáceres. Garces is in crutches. Cáceres is there, kind of just helping him along, just being a sort of a mentor. And, even when it comes to helping in those physical moments, that's one thing. But I'm sure there went so much beyond that anemically. But my question is, who was someone who maybe helped you when you joined the Galaxy? It sounds like maybe Cáceres sort of served that role for yourself, maybe other players. But when it comes to support within the team, who maybe did you reach out to when you first joined?
I think when I first joined, it was Gaston Brugman was definitely the number one, especially knowing he was from Uruguay. He definitely made me feel at home. But I've known so many guys around the league that were on the team already, so it was new, but it wasn't at the same time. I still felt welcomed. I felt like they wanted me there, and they knew that I could bring things to the table. So it wasn't just a specific person. I think everybody just welcomed me really well. And I think that's a huge part of being in the team. Like, when you come from another team and you come in and you don't know what to expect, you want people to be around you and help you either with living situations, with whatever it is. They need to be there, because some of these guys are either alone, they don't have families, they don't have kids, they don't know where to go from there. So as a teammate, you kind of have to look after them. And definitely when I joined, everybody was doing that. Everybody was telling me where to move, where to do things. If I needed help, to reach out to them. So it was kind of an easy process for me. It was hard. The only thing that was hard was that I had a daughter that was only 7 days old. So that was the toughest part, especially knowing when I got the call saying that I was getting traded. That was definitely a kind of a crazy way to wake up on a Sunday morning and figuring out you got traded.
Yeah. Andrew, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I guess just to kind of piggyback off that, what you mentioned about how the whole team, how important it is to have that support from a team. Lucas Sanabria, a young kid coming from Uruguay, potentially all alone. This would be a little bit from an outsider perspective, but what would you say his integration was like? He obviously had a difficult time, on the field with the injury very early on. What would you say it was like for him joining the team?
I think you just hit that perfect. I think he came really well to the team, and then he got that injury in Vancouver that kind of set him back, and it was hard for him to get back to the same pace that everybody else was at. I don't remember exactly how much he missed, but he missed quite a bit. And when you miss quite a bit of time, it's hard to get back into the rhythm, back into the team chemistry. And but for him, I think he's still young. He still has so much to learn. And I know he's out there and he's trying to figure out how the team is still playing, how the coach wants him to play. There's a lot that goes to it. And I always tell people, this league is not for everybody. It's not easy. People might think of it as a McDonald's or whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, there's players that came here and they didn't score more than double-digit goals. So it's one of those things that it's not for everyone, and you just have to adapt. And people who actually adapt to it can do well. But if you don't adapt quick, then you're losing a year or two. or you can do well the first year, and then after you're not quite there, and you're not doing so well. It's kind of one of those crazy things where you hear that in this league, if you think about it, the average player only plays for like 4 to 5 years in this league, which is kind of crazy to think. You come out of college, you only play 4 to 5 years, and you retire. So players who are sticking around and playing 10 plus years is something impressive to do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think a testament to your career, especially. Payne mentioned it at the top introducing you, but to be in this league for so long, and it's really it's something you started very, very young, so you had a good time to acclimate it, but like you said, you developed quick, and yeah, maybe quicker than some others, but definitely I think all of us, myself especially, Sanabria has caught, Lucas has caught a little bit of slack, but I do think that he has a massive, massive potential. I'm still very high on him, so wishing him the best for sure in 2026.
Yeah, I am too. At the end of the day, I think he plays a different style than I think what we look in the middle. I think I think him and Edwin Cerrillo kind of play similar. And when Sanabria, I think, was playing in Edwin's position, I think he was doing a little bit better than when he was playing as a 8-10-ish. And I think that's where in Uruguay, that's where he was playing. So it's hard to say if he was not as good because he wasn't playing his position or he was trying to adapt it. So there's always things. And at the end of the day, when you don't have really family around, I think it's a tough thing. And like I said, I think this year he'll know exactly what to do, and he'll feel more comfortable playing there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Diego, 79 goals, 79 assists. You are on the verge of reaching 80 goals, 80 assists. Absolutely elite club that you're already in, being in the 70-70 club. To reach 80-80 is almost unprecedented in MLS. And your time here with the Galaxy, do you have a particular goal that is, perhaps your favorite that you think about sometimes and you're just like, wow, like, I don't even know. Like, do you have anything that stands out
my
to you?
whole career or just
with the Galaxy? Oh, you could do both.
Well, no, during the Galaxy, I think it was I want to say it was Vancouver, and that was goal number 70th. Because I was at 69 and I felt like I couldn't get a goal. It was like we were going games and games and games, and the ball wasn't going in. And I remember getting that one kind of like it was like new fresh air. It let go, and I was like, okay, now I can just keep playing. And I always say, once you score the first goal, more come. The first one's always the hardest of the year, and if you can get that early, then you can really just take off. And for me, I remember it was that goal. It was in Vancouver. I think it was Joseph who just slid it back, and it was kind of like a tap in. But I think that goal was definitely good. But I think my favorite goal of all time there, it was probably against Colorado when we used the new jerseys, the old jerseys. What are the black
the LA
and
kit? Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think when I volleyed it and I think I chested and volleyed it. I think that was one of my favorite goals.
Awesome. Dylan?
Yeah, so this is kind of going to be a two-parter because your career has been very different, I want to say, and you can tell me I'm wrong, and that's totally fine. And I'm a little bit of a tactical nerd when it comes to some of this stuff. And your career from New England to Austin to LA has been different in this back end of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to know what your biggest lesson from becoming a Galaxy player is, and maybe in particular, if you want to talk about you transitioning to a deeper role this season and kind of being that creative midfield from deeper. I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on how you perceive the game instead of being as far forward up on the pitch compared to when you're collecting the ball a little deeper.
It's very different, actually, from when I first started playing left wing 10 to then going to Austin playing left wing 10 to then my first year in Austin, I actually played as an 8 box-to-box player. And when I joined the Galaxy, they told me, hey, like, we like the way you play. You can play in any of these positions. Just make sure you learn them. And I'm very good at learning what I need to do. The hardest thing for me, like I always said, I'm not the best defender, but when I have to defend, I roll up my shorts and let's go. We battle it out. But when I play, I think back there, I try to make sure that 10 is not playing so far back. I want him to receive the ball further up. And Sometimes when you have a player like Riqui Puig who actually wants to come and collect the ball, it's hard because you want him to stay up, but he still wants to collect the ball. And the guy is top class. You can't say anything to him. You know, he wants to do his thing and he does it. And if he wants to go by 4 or 5 people, he does it. That's the kind of player he is. But I just try to make everybody play the game as simple as possible. And I think some people don't realize that I'm not really playing my position that I always played. I'm learning. I'm trying to do my best. I give it my all every game, no matter what position I play. I'm running 11, 12 kilometers a game, and I don't think people realize that. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're not even running." Well, if you look at my stats, I'm running more than everybody on the team every game almost. And those are the things that people don't see, the dirty work. Everybody sees the assists, the goals, the shots, but no one sees the dirty work sometimes. And but at the end of the day, we're here to win games, and we're here to help out the team as much as I can. And that's what kind of player I am. But one thing I definitely learned being at the Galaxy is try to be a leader. I think I was on teams where there were leaders out there, and I didn't have to really speak out. I could just show what kind of leader I was. And when I joined the Galaxy, I wouldn't say that we didn't really have a voice or anything. I think we had many voices, but I wanted to be one of those voices. I wanted people to listen to me. I wanted to win games, and I didn't care who's scoring, who was assisting. I prefer people to work their asses off and defend a little more, because the attack was definitely there at the end of the day. We could score goals, but could we defend? And that's what I cared more about. And if I had to get on someone, I will. Like, that's part of the game. As soon as the game ends, it's over and done with. And I didn't really care if you were mad at me or if I yelled at you or anything. That's all I cared was about what happened at the end of the game. And yeah, this year I think was tough because we had a lot of losses, and there was a lot of faces that we had to yell at and really show what kind of people we were, what kind of characters we had. And it's tough when it's like that. But at the end of the day, it's a learning process for everyone as well.
Definitely. You've kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but there was that run at the beginning of the season where it's just obviously something isn't clicking. This is definitely a two-parter. I'm not so interested in what you think the issue was. It feels like there was something maybe out of everybody's control where just the ball wasn't going in, or the ball was going into the wrong net for the craziest reasons. But something I'm maybe more interested in is, what do you think was behind the kind of comeback, the return to form that we saw at the back end of the season after such a difficult time? So if you could talk a little bit about what you see the issues were at the beginning versus how you guys went ahead solving them towards the end.
That's a tough question because I don't know exactly what was happening at the beginning, why. But if I remember when I was watching the games over, we were missing opportunities that we weren't missing in 2024. That's for sure. If you go back in the first game, San Diego, we give the ball away. Boom, we get scored on. Second game, it was St. Louis, corner kick. The ball goes crazy. Boom, boom, boom. We should have cleared it. No one's cleared it. Goal. I can keep going. Like there's things that we were making mistakes and we were getting punished. 2024, we weren't making those mistakes. We could score 3 goals. Teams would score 2. We could score 4 goals. Teams were scoring 3, but we were scoring goals. But when you're not scoring goals and you're getting scored on, you're not winning games.
Right. Yeah.
You can go back to if you go to every game, we are making mistakes that you should not make. And those are the games that we were getting punished. There was games that we were Philadelphia, we were up 2-0, 3-0 at halftime. We lose it. There's no way we should be losing those games. And that's when people really need to step up and show their characters more. And to be honest, I think our fans maybe didn't realize how our locker room was. We were actually all together and we were trying to get out of this hole as much as we could. And it was tough. Everybody, we were just looking at each other and we're like, someone needs to make a play. And we would make a play, but when we still get punished. And it was just tough. I know you guys went through it as well. And we went through it as well, everybody. But like I said, you win 3 out of those 16 games, you make playoffs. And that's the sad part of this.
Mm-hmm. What about towards that back end of the season where we start winning games and we start really getting, ourselves to potentially a playoff position? What kind of maybe changed or what fueled that?
I think it was Leagues Cup that we made that little run. We were winning games where everybody was getting comfortable. We were actually, I don't know if we were scoring first or not, but I just felt like the team was really going. We wanted to get out of that. And once we started really scoring and winning some games, everybody's like, okay, you know, we need to keep going through our season this way. Cause I think during Leagues Cup, did we make it to the
third place finish?
Third place,
right? Third place.
Yeah.
So I think we did really well where we're like, all right, we really need to bring this to our season. And if you look at how many points we got in the last 10 games, if you do that at the beginning, you're almost not top of the table, but you're top 5, maybe even
top 4, I think was the projection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the crazy part. And MLS is like that though. The team that's in last can beat the first team, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you're playing those games, it's played on the field. Yeah, there is no paper. There's no whoever's playing, players, whatever. It's played on the field, and whoever shows up is gonna win those games.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we were. If you put that projection over a 34-game season of how we finished that second half, we would have finished 4th, around 46 points. Even the league, or even the Campeones Cup game against Toluca, I mean, that game was right for the taking against the top Mexican team. You know,
that's where I say that I think more characters need to happen. You can't lose a game like that in the last 7 minutes and get scored on 3 goals, and all 3 goals pretty much similar.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. That game felt like it was for the taking. And, you know, in a season like this, we could have brought home something, some piece of silverware, but obviously can't change the past. Shifting away a bit here from soccer specifically, we've seen you, you know, stream on Warzone, Twitch. We know that that's one of your passions. What's a fun fact about you that maybe Galaxy fans wouldn't know, that you can't see on the field? Anything outside of soccer about you?
I do like cars, that's for sure. I don't mind getting a little dirty and working on some cars. But I think my number one thing is I'm a deer hunter.
Ooh,
really?
With bow and arrows.
Wow.
I think you had a piece on the Players Tribune, something like that, something you had written maybe on the Austin website where you talked about that.
Yep. I can shoot a bow very well, or fishing. You know, those are my 2 go-to. If I wasn't a soccer player, I probably would have been a professional fisherman.
Yeah, I mean, hey, move up to Alaska and just live a little fisherman life.
Alaska is definitely in the bucket list. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right, Dylan, you want to end us off here with one more question?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've got you here, and I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this realistically. You know, you're PR trained to the max, but I got to ask it. I'm wearing the kit right now. Are we going to see you in the 2026 kit wearing the same thing?
I don't know, but I can tell you, I'm wearing the shorts.
Are you?
Hey,
I'll take that.
I'm wearing the shorts. No, I just came from training actually, so I'm just training as much as I can, trying to stay fit. I still haven't been released from the Galaxy, so I'm not under contract right now or anything, but I have not seen anything from them, so I don't know what my agent's doing right now. All I know, I'm fit. Just trying to train, and I'm in Austin right now. Enjoying family, of course. Yeah. But I don't know where I'll be 2026. And that's the honest question, the honest answer. If I knew where I was going or anything, I wouldn't mind saying it, but I don't know right now. I'm a free agent, and like I said, I think the Galaxy said they were in talks, and right now I haven't heard anything from them yet. So as of right now, I just need to stay ready for whatever happens, and maybe if I go back, I go back, and if I don't, then there's always going to be those memories of winning the championship with them and being there, and I'll take those forever.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you very much for your time, for being on the podcast. I know, you have a busy schedule, so to take time out of your day, come back from training. Thank you very much. If this is the last we saw of you as a Galaxy player, nothing but fond memories, lifting the MLS Cup with us. Thank you very, very much for your time as a Galaxy player and on this podcast. Mr. Diego Fagundez, thank you very much.
No, I appreciate it to you guys. I've listened to you guys a couple times. I've looked at the stuff that you guys do. So you guys keep doing your thing, and of course, happy holidays, and hopefully a better 2026 to the Galaxy, even if I'm not there. So at the end of the day, I always wish them the best, and whatever happens, and maybe you'll see me on the field either with a jersey or without a jersey. No one knows.
Yeah. I mean, either way, we are wishing you the best of success in your future, Diego. Thank you very much for your time. And hey, you heard him. He listens to the podcast, guys. So what excuse do you have to not subscribe?
Diego, I have to make sure you guys are talking good stuff, you know?
Yeah. You might want to skip the next segment then. No, just kidding. All right, Diego, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks again, brother. Take care.
All right. Oh,
dang, we get. Hold on. We get a zoom in moment on the pod.
A little slip. All right, you want to go back? We're back.
That is the coolest. I'm gonna curse. Is that okay? Can I curse?
Yeah,
real quick?
Go ahead.
That's the coolest fucking thing that I've ever done, and I hope that he sees this. I hope that he knows that I'm fangirling a little bit because that was super fucking cool.
Yeah,
you locked in during it. You were cool.
Oh, thank you, dude. I was. It's funny. We can, if you want to zoom us back out, we can zoom back out now.
All right.
I was talking to Andrew about this beforehand because I was like, "You're the reporter here. Like, you've done this. You know your skill." Like, my heart was racing. I had no idea. I was honestly just like, the words are gonna come out here. I'm still a little bit on cloud 9. So I just want to say thank you for having me and Andrew on and letting us do this and being a part of it. And like you said a bunch of times, if you're not subscribed already, like you're not getting this content anywhere else. Like nobody else is getting Diego. I can tell you that much. So this is huge.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Corner of the Galaxy has enough subscribers, guys. Not just kidding. Respect Corner of the Galaxy, the Godfather himself. And thank you, Diego Fagundez, so much for your time.
Totally.
And everybody stick around. We still got more of a podcast to run here. But yeah, thank you, Fagundez. Hopefully we'll see him back in a Galaxy jersey, but if not, his contributions as a player will be remembered and etched in Galaxy history as a champion. So yeah, let's move into things now. We talked about the Riqui Puig injury. We got schedule realignment. Possible Southwest Division coming for the LA Galaxy in 2027/2028 season because of the calendar shift. There's a calendar shift, so now the MLS season will start around August, maybe late July, and end in May, which kind of aligns itself up with the European calendar, which was the main goal of this, is to line the transfer windows up, is to line Major League Soccer up with Europe. Also comes with a single league table with divisions of 6. Now the Galaxy's division is confirmed. That's not the division. I apologies for that being up there. That's not the division.
I'd much rather the Smurfs be in our division. So I'm happy that you put that up.
Yeah.
I'm happy you put that up.
Yeah. Smurfs are not in our division, guys.
Yeah, which sucks.
Cali Classico obviously has fallen off a bit in recent years, but hey, having that twice a year, once home, once away, I mean, it's a rivalry. It has historic value to it. You wish to see it, but we'll still play them once. As the format's going to work, you play every MLS team once and teams in your division twice. So you got the Galaxy in a division with LAFC, San Diego FC, Austin FC, Houston Dynamo, and FC Dallas. So, you know, those Texas teams, those away days in Texas that we so very much hate, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. But the positive spin is I do like the single league table format. I mean, the fact that, you know, everybody gets to play each other once, I think validates the supporter shield a little more. I still don't think, you know, not playing each other twice doesn't make it entirely valid in the travel of MLS. Playing 3 games in a week kind of offsets the supporter shield's value a little bit, but this helps it a bit. Now, your guys' thoughts on both the calendar shift and the single league table format, the Galaxy's division, all these changes?
Andrew, you want to start?
Yeah. In terms of the the format, I think what you mentioned, Peyton, that biggest thing is that it just makes following the supporter shield so much easier. It's so nice to not have to open up another tab to see how that table's going. So it'll make, research a little bit easier. But it definitely, is just aligning with that European model. And as much as, you might not want to, or some people might not want to assimilate so much or lose that Americanness and to, let's say, satisfy maybe Euro snobs who don't necessarily even care about the league or whatever it is still, I think, a good step forward just in terms of, getting the global recognition, and it's a way to capitalize on the potential new global audience that will be coming in after the 2026 World Cup. That's kind of the plan. Back in '94, that the '94 World Cup really sparked the MLS and, really birthed what we see now. And that's kind of the same intention. I'm not sure how well the league is going to actually capitalize on that. But the idea is that we're going to have a more global audience. So if we can give them a calendar or a league table that they are more comfortable with, that's, I think, one less thing to turn them off from enjoying the league. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about getting a larger audience, more revenue, whatever it is, and potentially one day raising that salary cap so we can actually, keep our rosters together. It's probably all just part of that plan, but it's nice to see in that regard. The divisions itself, I'm not too bothered by it. It is nice that we are going to see every team at least once, rather than, not seeing teams at all. So it'll be nice to see, some more consistent fixtures. But yeah, it's interesting. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be get yourself into playoffs and then see what happens there. The regular season, it's not a formality, but again, that's what matters. Diego was talking about it. You could have a fantastic year, but what matters is what you do in November, in December. So that doesn't change for the league. It still retains that Americanness, that playoff, feel, and that's it's almost not replicable in other leagues. It's something that sets us apart. So it is good that we're keeping that, while at the same time, maybe reaching out a little bit across the pond. So all in all, it's a bit of a measured move. Corner of the Galaxy did a podcast with this director at the MLS level. They've talked about how eventually Don Garber is planning to transition to step down. There will probably be a younger voice. We talked about it on our podcast with Dylan that maybe Will Kuntz might be a name to go ahead and be commissioner eventually. They want a young voice, and I feel with his experience, he kind of has a good resume when that job position does open up. So maybe we'll see. That's all just conjecture. But the league is starting kind of this advancing into the next generation of what it's going to be, MLS 4.0, whatever it is that we're going to be at. And, it's taking baby steps, but it's getting there, and it's exciting to see. So, again, not much is going to change. Looking forward to that. It's going to be an interesting footnote at the end of some articles, but same idea. What matters is the playoffs, and, that's what we're really here for. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Dylan?
Yeah, Andrew hit the good spark notes there on all things positive with the European calendar. I'll just echo just some current news that makes it all just make more sense. Like the Wilfred Nancy sacking today at Celtic, or yesterday at Celtic, just summarizes really why this shift needs to happen. Because currently as constructed, this league needs to become a developmental league. And it currently has so many restrictions on players doing that. Whether that's because in the summer a player can't go abroad because their team needs them for a playoff push, or they're trying to get a winter move and that price is at a premium, or from a manager's perspective, what manager can leave their current situation in December, go pick up the reins at a club that's clearly in turmoil and figure it out? It'll never work that way. And so from a USM&T perspective, from a US Federation perspective, aligning themselves up with the biggest players in the game just makes that whole pipeline project make a lot more sense.
Yeah. And you've heard Will talk about it sometimes, the fact that the player that they want to get isn't available in the winter. Their club wants to hold on to them. I mean, there's some clubs in a relegation scrap that need these guys to stay with the team or fighting for Europe, European placements, whether it's in Europa League, Champions League, Conference League. Teams are much less willing to give up their players in the winter than they are in the summer when they could reset, reorganize. You're having to overpay. Now, this is an issue when you'll see the Galaxy go out and find Riqui Puig's replacement is the fact that you're in the winter now. Teams are in the middle of the season. If you want a player that's playing abroad, you're going to have to pay a premium after we already, you know, are going to have to be on the hook for Ricky's salary. You know, $6 million. You're going to have to go to Uncle Phil and be like, hey, you're going to need to write me another blank check. And it's going to be more because it's the winter time, where it's like, yeah, it shouldn't be that way in the United States. It just, for MLS to grow as a league, I think this is the right move. I know a lot of people are like, oh, but what's the winter going to look like when we're having to go to, like, you know, Minnesota in December? I think that's valid. But when you look at the statistics, I think 90% or about of the calendar overlaps with what it currently is, because you end up taking a winter break anyway. And maybe they'll have Leagues Cup. I mean, maybe they'll have Leagues Cup during that time in like the LA market around winter time, you know, have like hub locations and stuff. I mean, there's definitely things and workarounds you could do there to stop MLS from just pausing for 2 months. I think would be really awkward. But this was what was necessary for MLS to grow as a league, I think, is to align themselves with Europe more, and the transfer windows is absolutely the biggest plus. So I don't mind this at all. And people have their thoughts on it, and I don't mind it. And then the division thing doesn't really affect us that much. I mean, having to go to Dallas and Houston and Austin, I mean, we're not historically good there, but look, we're going to have to just take that and be like, all right, it's fine. We're going to have to find a way to win there. That's it. You know, we're going to have to find a way to turn history around. And if you're good at building a roster, then, like, you know, something like that can maybe get in your head, but like, if you build a quality team, it shouldn't end up mattering. I remember that 2024 team, you know, yeah, I was going to say they were good in Texas, but they weren't. Never mind. You know what? Just bend it all. Just bend it all. Give us San Jose back, please. Yeah, seriously. But, you know, I don't mind it. And I think it's a good move to progress the league forward. Additionally, we got our CONCACAF Champions Cup draw, the MLS season calendar drop. Not that many things are worth noting anymore, because we already know what teams are going to play twice. Like, I mean, there's maybe 6 teams that rotate in and out of our calendar, you know, every single year from the East Coast. I think we got a game against Columbus this year, which is kind of cool. Although they're not looking too good right now. But we got CONCACAF Champions Cup, and we're going to be playing Sporting San Miguelito. I probably absolutely butchered that. It's because it's the white in me. I'm sorry. But, you know, this, I think, is a very favorable matchup. And in fact, I think our next round matchup against a Jamaican club is also a very favorable matchup for the Galaxy to advance to the quarterfinals. I think there is a real possibility. Then you start seeing teams like Toluca potentially come out of that side on the quarterfinals, unless they get upset. You know, it looks like the quarterfinals is when this all intensifies for us. But I think, you know, without saying that we're just going to straight out win this, because nothing's ever guaranteed in soccer. And you saw, you know, a team from Costa Rica give us trouble last year. So maybe, you know, maybe they scrap a win against us in their home leg or something like that and make it difficult. CONCACAF, what's your expectations for this? I mean, Riqui Puig is out. We don't have a replacement as it stands. Preseason begins, I think, January 11th. Maybe January 10th for the Galaxy. Training camp's coming up very soon. No replacement in sight. What's our expectations for this now?
I mean, you said it. The first 2 rounds are relatively favorable. So I expect us to make it at least that far. And I mean, the first team we're playing, their squad value is 3.25 million. Yeah. That's a DP. Yeah. Like, we really should be taking care of business, whether that's at home in the first or second leg. It really shouldn't matter. This team, as constructed, even without Riqui Puig, is still a good team. And I need people to understand that. Like, what happened at the beginning of last season, whether that was shock or, like Diego was saying, it just wasn't exactly clicking. The ball wasn't rolling the right way. They weren't defending well enough. This team now, as constructed, has players at all 3 levels that should be able to compete at the highest level. I'm out of excuses. Even with the Riqui one, I'm out of excuses in terms of this squad is good enough with Greg Vanney, who is one of the most accomplished coaches in the league's history, to be able to advance far enough in this competition to even potentially challenge for a title. Like, that's kind of where my head's at. I want to see him try to win it, or at least make a good push at it.
Andrew?
Yeah, definitely. It's probably a really good thing that we're facing a favorable draw, just because it's so early on in the season, and it's essentially going to be another preseason match. It's their first competitive match of the year is in Panama. So that's kind of good. Maybe a way to sort of ease into it, but having that competitive edge, it could essentially still be a loser. You're out. You can't take it lightly. But something that a lot of people have talked about, especially with these new signings with Hack, with Glesnes, is that there's so much more tactical flexibility for Greg Vanney to maybe experiment with. That might be a fixture where he tries to do that. I put out an article about it recently. I don't think he will, but it's something he can do. Again, just to get some competitive reps before bringing that to the MLS season, that's an option. But like Dylan mentioned, this team should be taking care of business at the very least until that quarterfinal round. And that's really when it'll start for us. And that suits us. It gives us time to kind of get into a little bit of mid-season form for these games that do matter. I do think another interesting point is that last season we played a lot with Harbour Miller, a lot with players like Tucker Lepley, especially to start the year. And that was really first time abroad experiences in this kind of continental competition for a lot of these younger players. So for them to now be experienced, to be a more experienced squad as a whole, I think is only going to help us. They'll understand the pressure of playing in these packed out Central American stadiums, packed out Caribbean stadiums. They'll be a lot more accustomed to it. Whereas last year it was their first time and they were kind of learning on the fly. So that's another thing that'll only help us. And again, with that stronger back line, you do think we can repel some of these teams. And we still have Joseph Paintso, who is the second fastest player in the world. We still have Gabriel Peck. You still have Emiro Garces, I believe second or third fastest player in the world also. So these aren't chumps either. They did have a difficult year, but they absolutely should be competing to be going far into that season. And I think another thing that helps them is the end of the season they had. They know that they're at the very least the top 4 in the Western Conference type team, whatever that looks like in terms of divisions next year, whatever that equivalency is, it's a playoff team. So they got to go in there with that confidence, understanding that they're not anymore that team that was winless in 13. They understand what they are, they should do. And like Diego mentioned, players like Fagundez are going to be a lot more established. Elijah Winder, who had a really, really impressive ending to the year as well. There's just so much more experience in this young roster that should hopefully make the difference. What Diego talked about was characters. It was probably difficult to expect that of a lot of these younger guys for really the first time to have this leadership role, the starting role at the very least. But now they've had that year experience under their belt, and it's up to them to see what they do with it. But it just points to having more character, to them having more confidence, and to them being able to get the job done and advance. At the end of the day, winning the title is always going to be the goal. That's going to be the messaging from Greg Vanney, from any other player we talk to. So they're going to go out with that ambition. And whether or not they make that happen, that's when we can maybe start talking. But like you guys have mentioned, this team should get it done, and they need to realize that that's the caliber the LA Galaxy are. It's up for them to show it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 4 games to start the season in 11 days. NYCFC, and then this match, I think we play the away leg first. And then we play another MLS match against, I think, Charlotte at home again. And then I think we play the home leg. Season 2, everyone. Welcome, Tab. Welcome, Tab.
Oh.
My favorite Liverpool fan right here. Welcome.
No, we're staying up. West Ham's staying up.
He's on the car Wi-Fi.
He's in denial, by the way.
Oh, man.
He's going to have to owe me a Coco 101 jersey.
We're staying up. Don't worry. You're getting me that West Ham kit.
Going way down, brother. You are going to be blowing bubbles in the championship.
I have to make an appearance for the start of season 2. Obviously, you guys have glazed Diego enough, but I'm just going to throw my glaze in a little bit.
Unlimited.
I remember watching there's a documentary back in like the early 2010s or whatever. I think it's MLS 36, where he was in a documentary going over 36 hours life. And I remember it. I was like I want to be like that guy. And it's just a cool circle moment seeing him on our podcast, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We talked a bit about CONCACAF, but we have 2 signings that are going to make things in CONCACAF a lot better, hopefully. That defense that conceded over 70 goals last season, look, I think we've done significant damage to shore this up. Starting, logically, chronologically started with Jacob Glesnes, or how do you say? I call it Jacob. What's the official pronunciation of this?
Andrew,
I
I
saw
think
Jakob.
I was gonna say we had this
I did some
conversation
research
because
for
I
a
butcher
YouTube
names
video.
more than anybody. So
It just doesn't roll off the tongue.
Jakob.
Whatever. Mr. Jacob right here. New Galaxy center back acquired in a trade with Philadelphia Union. Oh man, this guy came with a price tag, but I think he is all worth it. Candidate who finished second in MLS Defender of the Year voting last year. He won it in 2022. Consistency throughout the years. This guy's been huge locker room leader in Philadelphia. Acquired for $1.1 million in allocation money, 500K being this year, 600K being next year, and an additional $1.1 million in allocation money for the rights of Jameer Johnson. Another little interesting tidbit that we probably won't cover too much on this is they acquired like a youth national team player, played for Philly Academy, but has a lot of options in Europe right now. But the Galaxy clearly think that they have a chance at getting that guy. So I think a lot of the performance incentives are driven towards Jameer Johnson, not Glesnes, to my understanding. So you're looking at about 500K this year, 600K next year, maybe tack on a little more. But his salary is Diego Fagundez salary, hovering around $1.1, $1.2 million. Initial thoughts. I was shocked when I saw this, because elite MLS player. But your thoughts on the Galaxy bringing in Jakob Glesnes?
Tab, you haven't been here, so you get to start.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember I was walking to Target shopping for Christmas presents, and I get the notification on my phone saying Tom Bogert, breaking news: Galaxy are signing MLS Defender of the Year in 2022, Jacob Glesnes, and I literally almost like dropped everything because Target has terrible connection. I had to get some decent Wi-Fi to post this on my page.
Yeah.
So, the page comes first over everything, even Christmas presents dropping. But anyways, yeah. Looks like a great guy, great player. He's 33 right now, 31, I think. 31. Yeah. So, and his deal goes until he's 33 plus an option year. So I think we're getting him in his prime years. Yoshida is around the similar age when he came in, and he was one of our best defenders in recent times. So I have nothing wrong with this signing.
Great point.
Yeah. Andrew?
Yeah. If you want my full thoughts on this, be sure to check out the NGF Andrew YouTube channel. We got a video on there about it. Plug. But it's just like I feel like everybody here was super stoked to see the signing, and a little bit out of the blue, it might feel like. But I think that's, the Ravi Ramaneni effect, our director of qualitative analysis. He's really helped us lock down our scouting and the kind of targets we should be going for. It's a fantastic defender, 3-time MLS MVP. He's really only known success essentially in his time with Philadelphia. Really great to hear. I got some insight from a reporter friend of mine, Jimmy King, based out in Philly. Told me that.
Oh no!
I think we lost Andrew again.
No, we were doing so good.
At least it didn't go
giving us good information.
I know. Dylan, we will hand it off to you.
Oh,
he's back.
Are you back?
You're back. Go ahead.
Just in time. Sorry, Dylan.
No, you're good.
I'm not sure where you guys lost me, but this is a 3-time MLS MVP. He's really only been successful in Philly. And talking with a reporter friend of mine from Philadelphia, Jimmy King, Philly Sports Nation, be sure to check that out as well. He's like Peyton mentioned, a massive locker room guy, someone that the team really looks to. And when we're talking about characters and people who can, kind of spark or at least get people's heads back up when they're a little bit fallen, he's a great piece to have. And the consistency, it's just, perfect fit. And he's, I think, really interesting, really also tactically flexible. He's played a couple of different systems in Philly, back 3, back 4, really good at like getting the ball forward, whether it's with his dribbling or his passing. He's got some really impressive backing numbers there. So that's kind of the way the Galaxy like to play. They don't mind giving their center back the ball, having him hoof it up. I think of Zonka to Ramirez in, I want to say, Portland. You know, he's very capable at making a play like that. So it suits us, a need that we've had tactically, a need, obviously defensive, where you want to stop breaking records in terms of how many goals we concede. So one of two home run signings, I want to say, from Ravi, from Will Kuntz. So it's a very, very exciting start to see that this is kind of a new standard. I can't wait for the next windows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let me start with why he's here. Philadelphia hates Unks, right? He gets the wrong side of 30, and they're just like, "Hey, man, like you got to go. We got to get.
It's like
we gotta get rid."
DiCaprio.
Yeah, it really is.
And Tab.
They're on that watch. You know what I mean? Like, but in seriousness, like, this has been the most neglected position from the Galaxy in so many years, in so many teams. We conceded 66 goals in the league last season.
Yeah.
66. I can't even, the idea of that many goals a game is ridiculous. And I am big on statement of intents. And the front office came out and said, we're not going to suck defensively anymore. We're not. We're going to go get the best not available defender in this class. And this guy has pedigree. He's got size. In terms of when we first got him, I was thinking, I've been asking for a partner for Garces for a long time because he is the future, right? And they paired him up with like maybe the best partner. And then we can, do you want to transition to the next guy, or do you have thoughts on Glesnes?
Let's transition to the next guy. Here we go. Justin Hack. The Galaxy signed free agent Justin Hack from New York City SC. Dylan, take it away.
This was the biggest defensive player in the class of free agents.
Yeah.
I didn't think this was in the realm of possibilities. This guy took a pay cut to
Not
be
after Glesnes. No.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, we're done with defensive signings. Like maybe we'll get a backup winger or something. We'll fully focus on the 9. No. We're gonna go get this 6 center back hybrid, this freak city academy type player, right? This is the level of Hack. He was the best available free agent from this class.
Yeah.
With the age, the contract that we got him on, I've never even heard of a player of that age taking a pay cut and giving the team a club option in the second year. That's crazy. That's crazy. We're getting him for like cheap. He should be nowhere near the price that we're having him at. I think that's some of the best business I've seen in the league in a long time. And cooking with cunts, right? Like that's the way it works. I'll leave it over to you guys now to talk about him because I just think it's a phenomenal signing.
I think the expectation is that the Galaxy decline this option because I think getting a player of his caliber to take a prove it deal is like, dude, when Will Kuntz calls, it's a different call because he could have signed a multi-year deal, probably a 4, maybe even 5-year deal elsewhere in MLS because he had interest. Tom Bogert was talking about it. About half of the league wanted this guy, or was actively pursuing this guy. There were teams that were willing to pay a lot. Tab, I know you had you explained the rules a bit on this Justin Hack signing. I know you briefly mentioned, Dylan, the fact that New York City offered even more than the Galaxy did. But Tab, what does this contract look like?
Okay, let's see if I can keep my memory up right. So NYC offered him a multi-year deal, and this deal was over $1 million per season. He decided to decline that and took the Galaxy's offer, which is less. But because of MLS salary rules and the free agent salary rules, whatever, it's just all out of whack. But only the maximum the Galaxy could pay him was $828K per season. So that's how much he's getting paid. That's the maximum we could offer him. So that's what I'm guessing they have offered Justin Hack. So that's what we can kind of assume that he's getting. And then after the season is expected, Galaxy is going to decline this club option year to then offer him a new long-term deal with the Galaxy. So expect him to be here for a long time. And if he does play really good, maybe we get a nice little quick golden dollar for him, maybe to a European club. Obviously, he's getting rumors to the EFL Championship. I'm pretty sure the Bundesliga is looking at him as well.
Yeah,
this guy's highly sought after.
Yeah, insane. Andrew?
Yeah, another one of those home runs. What I think the most exciting thing is that, like Dylan mentioned, he's a six center back, but he can play a lot of roles. And it's, roles of need. It's something that we were all probably screaming for last season, was some support for Edwin Cerrillo, especially, at the start of the year where he wasn't probably as strong. But, that middle rear part of the midfield, it's something that Mark Delgado excelled at, Gaston Brugman especially. We went from having, some depth there to really just having a young kid in Edwin Cerrillo there to hold it down. So it's fantastic that he can play there. Also fantastic that he slots in perfectly into a potential back five system. Glesnes, Garces hack system would, really, really be sensational. You think of the positioning of players like Glesnes and Hack, and the experience, the quality that they have there with the recovery that Garces options, which again, second fastest player in the world. If you don't believe me, go look that up. Go look at the numbers. He was tracked faster than Mickey Van de Ven last season, just under Kylian Mbappe. So when you think of a back three system, man, one of the biggest weaknesses of it is that they do get caught out in defense. So what better to have than a second fastest player in the world to go ahead and make those recovery runs? And that's was probably Garces' strongest trait last year, just how impressive he was to cover those spaces a lot of the time for Zonka, for Yoshida. So a back three with those two stars, and then someone like Garces as well. It's an exciting prospect to think about. And again, it's also super exciting to think of a player like Hack in that six role with the back four. It just opens up a lots of tactical options, which is something that Galaxy have been missing. I feel like something that Galaxy fans especially have been really getting on Vanny's head about is how much he is faithful to a 4-3-3. But, I recently put an article looking at it, and you look at his time in Toronto. He played a three-back system basically every game, and he won a treble with that three-back system. For a time, you could have said that Vanny likes the three-back for a fault. But to me, he's a manager who does the best with what he has. And he just didn't have the players to do that at the Galaxy ever since he joined in 21. For the first time, he has that. So I'm excited to see him maybe play with formations a little bit and give opposing managers a little bit of a headache when it comes to lining up against us. Are we going to face the three-back Galaxy? Are we going to face a four-back with a strong midfield? It's going to be tough for them to tell. We're going to be able to switch things on the fly. And that, for me, is the most exciting thing. Vanny has shown, especially last season, a little bit more willingness to switch systems with players like Cuevas, for example, playing in a five-back. He's been experimenting with it. And now to have proper players in that center back position to really kind of give them the reins and not have to worry or be so anxious that you have someone like Zonka on the pitch for you. It just opens up so many options that I think will make us a lot more difficult to defend and thus a lot more dangerous. So I really am excited to see I'm just so stoked with what Hack offers. So again, another home run. So much to like about the move in terms of the financials, like Tab mentioned. It's just what's not to like. And really, my last point, I really love this kind of front office team. We have Rami Ramaneni kind of dealing with the numbers, getting his options. Well, Kuntz is the money guy, like you mentioned, Payne. He calls and he makes you take that maybe a more beneficial deal. Then you got Greg Vanny kind of orchestrating it on the football side. It feels like everybody has their role. They're fantastic at it. And now we're really, poised to make some big deals. And that's exactly what we need, especially as we think about a potential Riqui Puig replacement or rebuilding in 26, rebuilding in 27. We have the front office to do it now. They've shown with these, fantastic signings that they know what they're looking for. They know what we need. And I think it's just a matter of time until we really are, back to a championship team. I talked about it a couple times last season. I think we do get the 7-27. It just has a nice ring to it. And the way everything's shaking with hopefully, fingers crossed, a Puig return, a couple of transfer windows under our belt with this new direction, there's just a lot of potential for really exciting things. And even in 26 without Riqui Puig, there's space to make some moves. There's space to improve, especially in the summer. So I'm stoked. Hack is going to be great. I have almost no doubt about it. And yeah, I just can't wait for more windows, and I can't wait for the season to start even.
Yeah, I could almost envision us winning the short season and having everybody cope online about it. Hey, it's only Mickey Mouse if we don't win it. Anyway, yeah, I think the points you touched on very good when you talk about tactics and what Greg Vanney is going to do and what the next evolution of Vanney ball looks like. I think he realizes that maybe now it's time to take a shift in another direction. You did see Justin Hack be labeled as a midfielder when on the signing thing. Is that another thing the Galaxy can potentially do if they want to stick to that four back? You could have, Golesnes and Garces, and then you could have Hack in the midfield. But I think it's yet to be proven if he can play an 8 role. I would imagine he's more of a 6, and we already kind of have Cerrillo in that 6 spot. So, I think logically, I've been thinking about this a lot, whether they end up, sticking with the 4 back, putting Hack into the midfield, or whether they end up changing to 3 at the back. And honestly, shoot, time will tell, because I can't say either way right now. But I think the 3 back is an attractive option. If he's done it in the past, he's had success with it in the past. I think this could be, a signal in the direction that Greg Vanney is wanting to change what the system fundamentally looks like, because he knows that it could potentially get the best out of his players. Now, what version of a 3 back would we play? 2 up top when we don't really even have a starting caliber number 9? I mean, maybe they think Ramirez is that guy, but I don't think Greg Vanney does. I think Greg Vanney has kind of shown that he wants a striker that could score 15. Maybe you play a 3-5, or I don't know. Maybe you play like a 3-5-2 or something like that, and just have, maybe you saw Paintsill play a bit of striker towards the end of the season, kind of have him play almost in that role, but give him, space to be more free as he is naturally a winger. And then you bring in a U22 striker. I don't think we're getting Lewa. I don't think we're going to get even a high TAM guy. This Hack and Golesnes deal pushes the Galaxy to the brink of the salary cap. And I would expect that at a point here, you're going to randomly get a piece of news that probably Zonka or Yoshida is gone. Maybe both, but I think it's one or the other at this point. I think you'll get a piece of news that Zonka or Yoshida is gone. Right now, that center back room is a little crowded. They're both taking up a good amount of salary. The Galaxy can definitely try to look at options to clear them off the books. You saw Maya Yoshida get linked back to Nagasaki, which is his, where he's from. And maybe that's a destination for him to bring his family back to Japan to end his career. I know he likes LA, but I think the Galaxy are going to have to work something out with the salary cap right now. January window's open. We could sign anyone from Europe. Europe can sign anyone from the Galaxy. So interested to see what the next evolution of Vanney ball looks like. But, and we also had Cuevas linked to Club America. I think Cuevas would be brilliant in a 3-back system, because he would play more as, right mid. And then when you're defending, I think you could have Ade. I think you could have Julian Ade and Mauricio Cuevas on the wings. I mean, maybe you could even put Peck and Paintsill up top. I mean, a bit sketchy without a real striker, like a natural number 9. But you could also do that. And I think this system fits Cuevas' playing ability a lot better, because he's able to push forward. He's able to, deliver all those brilliant crosses that he can do. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him go, just with the fact that you can convert that money into general allocation money as he was a homegrown player for the Galaxy, and we hold those rights. Maybe that's a way to open up some cap space. You do that with Cuevas, you move, you end up moving Zonka or Yoshida, and you start to look a bit better. Maybe you could bring in a backup winger, like you talked about, Dylan. Another little piece of housekeeping is the new kit. We don't know much about it, not very many leaks on it. But Tab, you have information on when this is supposed to be released? So
yeah, this is going to be released on February 11th. Last year, if I remember correctly, it was released on February 13th, so it's around the same time. Hopefully in the next coming weeks, we get some leaks on what it actually is, and not just we know it's going to be a sash and there's going to be a collar. Yeah, but that's all we know. And then also going back to the Cuevas point, the best way to regain cap space and regain some money that maybe we may have lost through bad transfers is buy, sell, and homegrown players because it's pure profit. When you sell players that you've already bought through in the league, usually you take them and sell them at a lesser than what you bought them for. So you're technically losing money, but you're making money because you're also like using them in that case. But selling these homegrown players is pure profit because they're coming from your academy. So that's something you could probably look out for. While I don't think Alex should sell Cuevas, it's definitely a possibility, like you're saying.
Yeah, Yamane too. I mean, Yamane had significant regression. I think the Galaxy, honestly, well, it comes from 2 points of view. I think there's not much interest in Miki Yamane as there is Mauricio Cuevas at this point in their careers. But I think the Galaxy believe that Yamane is more like his 2024 form than 2025 when it comes down to it. And that it was, just a bit of a slump season from him, slump sophomore season. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I think Yoshida or Zonka. I mean, Zonka, we've heard for how long, is probably not on this team next year, and we haven't seen any progress. I mean, shoot, pull up that Hammerby method and send that guy pack. I'll drive him to the airport, honestly. Just absolute terrible defender. That the Galaxy, I think Yoshida probably ends up taking that, lesser role next season off of the bench, but in a 3-back that could also be very significant with the amount of games that you're playing. With the amount of things that you're going to have to do next season to have that locker room guy. I mean, it's not FIFA. You can't entirely strip the entire locker room and all of its leaders and just expect success. So I'd expect it to be Zonka, not Yoshida, but maybe Yoshida has more value than Zonka abroad. I mean, that goes without saying. And predictions for captain this year, I mean, we'll go quickly through everybody here. But I would give it to Joseph Paintcell, but I think Galesnes probably next year. But Andrew?
That's a really interesting one. I do like the Joseph shout, especially because he's already worn the armband. Maybe a sneaky pick might be someone like Edwin Cerrillo. I talked a little bit about this on this show, but he really stepped up in terms of leading the team.
Yeah,
growing into a role that wasn't necessarily his. He didn't really play, or he didn't really have that sole ownership, at least, of the 6th spot in 24, where he's suddenly the only option, and he's helping players like Elijah Winder, like Lucas Sanabria, and he's a young guy himself, but taking these younger players under his wing, I feel like he's shown a really good amount of not just not shying away from challenges and taking on these new responsibilities, but helping others and guiding along, other parts of the team. So I think he might be a sleeper pick, even if he's not the number 1 captain. I wouldn't be shocked to see him wear the bracelet once or twice like Paintel did this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Tab?
Yeah, I'm a Cerrillo. I can't think of anyone else that is maybe fit enough to be a captain for this club. I think, players like Ada who've been at the club for multiple years, but you just don't get that captain vibe from them, I guess you could say. Everyone else is somewhat like fairly new to the club, like been in the club in like the past 2 years or something at the max. So I think Cerrillo is my pick.
I wouldn't mind it. Dylan?
If he was here, confirmed, if he had just answered my question with a yes, I'd probably go with Diego Fagundez. In all honesty, I think he's got the grit and the experience, which I am assuming we're going to talk about potentially that Riqui hole later. That Riqui says.
That's next.
That portion of that really plays a huge role in my thoughts on him. But if not, if he doesn't come back, I think it's got to be Paintsel, just because I don't think, like you guys were saying, there is a bona fide, like, this is our guy. We need to give it to this person. I think you just do what every good AYSO coach does and just give it to the best player. You let him look. He's a great leader. He leads by screaming at people. I know that really pisses people off, but I think I want that type of energy this season. I want our best player who's going to a World Cup to have the armband and to try to lead by example, because I just don't think that you can slap it on Glesnes yet.
No, not just yet, but I could definitely see him being a captain if his stay gets extended. You kind of hinted at it a little bit. We did have a rumor of Casemiro to the Galaxy. Look, there's not much to this. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, Diego talked about it. We already had 2 number 6s last year. We had Cerrillo and Sanabria, who both play the 6. Why not add a third on a designated player contract?
I guess
right?
so. Yeah.
Let's just make it a number 6 party. Let's have 11 number 6s on the field. This is Vanny Ball 3.0, guys. I mean, Casemiro, does anybody feel like they would want this even a little bit?
I'm really interested in hearing from Dylan as a Man United.
Yeah, I watch Casemiro every week, man. I love the guy. I think he's a great leader. I think he's a great locker room presence. But we have Edwin Cerrillo. I don't need Casemiro to come here for a paycheck, because that's what that ultimately would be. And to see out his season in the... No, it just doesn't make any sense to me. That out of all the rumors that I've seen, that's the one where I go, that doesn't make sense from anything I've seen from Will Kuntz. And that doesn't make any amount of sense with Ricky's injury. It's just you're just signing a name so that you can put him on the back of jerseys and sell the crap out of it. That's a Gerrard style move. You know what I mean? Like, that's what that feels like to me.
We've moved past that.
Yeah, I don't need to do that again.
Yeah. Up to Stevie G though. But I do think very much that Casemiro rumor has nothing really to it. But we do expect the Galaxy, season-ending injury list. Riqui Puig will probably end up on that within the next week or so. The question is, where does his replacement come from? I'm assuming the Vanny system is so entirely dependent on an elite number 10. You've seen it in Toronto. You've had Sebastian Giovinco. You've had Alejandro Pozuelo. You've had Riqui Puig. You're going to need an elite number 10 if this team's going to compete. I'm sorry, you can't rely on a 50-year-old Marco Reus. No disrespect to Marco Reus, legend, but I don't think he has it to carry a midfield. And I think it's unfair on him to expect that at his age. Him off of the bench, him in rotational games, fine. Not an issue. Him as the starter and as the conductor at this point, you're just going to end up in 2025 all over again. They're going to swing on a DP again. You saw this guy right here, Matty Bogus, rumored to the Houston Dynamo right now. I'll say it right now. I mean, former LAFC player, former Leva. I'm sorry, but he has that connection to Will Kuntz, Matty Bogus. Yeah. I'm going to say it now. I wouldn't be surprised if the Galaxy try to steal this deal from Houston. I would not be surprised if Will Kuntz makes that phone call probably as we speak right now. And, on a designated player contract, look, I think that you're going to have a very hard time finding a player that takes a 1-year deal. Yeah. That just wants to be a rental, even on loan with no option to buy. I mean, what kind of player are you getting? Maybe you could snag Harvey Elliott. I mean, I know he said no to Charlotte, but come on, it's Charlotte, if you're Harvey Elliott, no disrespect to Charlotte, but if you're Harvey Elliott, I'm probably saying no to Charlotte FC too. He's not in Liverpool. I'm a Liverpool fan. He's not in their plans. He's not in the plans anymore for the rest of the season.
He can't play.
He can't go back on loan to Europe. He can't go anywhere else, and that Aston Villa loan is being terminated. If you're the LA Galaxy, maybe you give him a phone call and say, hey, let's do this. You could go back to Europe after this year. Fine. We need you for 1 year, and you can prove why you deserve to be on a European team. We did the same with Riqui Puig. We have these young stars in Gabriel Peck. We have an elite player in Joseph Paintsil. Come over here. Maybe that happens. I think it's unlikely, highly unlikely. I think you're going to have to sign a designated player. I think you're going to have to sign them to a multi-year deal, and you're going to have to figure it out next season. Gabriel Peck could be on the block. I mean, he has European interest every single window. I'm sure we'll see a rumor on Peck back to Brazil or Europe in the next coming weeks. I mean, it's just going to happen. When that figure becomes right for the LA Galaxy, I think they move on from him after this season. I think Paintsil's a guy you're going to see for years, unless injuries genuinely start to hamper him more and more. I think Paintsil's going to be a guy that you see in the long term for the Galaxy. I can't say the same for Peck, and that's not his ambition. He wants to go to Europe. He wanted to go to Europe before the Galaxy. He was a bit disappointed to have to come to LA because he wanted to go to Europe, but he knew that this was a move to bounce himself to Europe. I think it's time after this year. Very surprised if Gabriel Peck is on this roster in 2027. I think that solves your problem next year. You're going to have to sign a guy that can be versatile. You're going to have to sign a guy that when Riqui Puig comes back, you're able to move this player into a wing position, in my opinion.
Diego
Yeah, Fagundez. I think you're going to have to be able to move this player into a wing position. And when I look at that, I mean, other options, I made a post about this earlier. I had Matty Bogus as a potential option. These are guys that you'd recognize. I mean, they could go to South America and sign some rando, and he could just be perfectly fine. But Ryan Gauld, in my opinion, if I'm Will Kuntz, what better? I want a player that's MLS proven. I want a player that is an elite player in Major League Soccer, and we know that. Ryan Gauld had a bit of his own injury issues, but he looks to be over that hill right now. Maybe that makes it a little more unlikely, but if I'm the Galaxy, I'm calling Vancouver and I'm saying, hey, we got some money right here for you. Bring us Ryan Gauld, and that is a player that you can move into the Gabriel Peck spot after this year. And then you could have Riqui Puig centrally, because like we said earlier, Ricky's on this roster next year. You know, you can't avoid it. Maybe 2028 he's not, but he's on the roster next year. Santi Rodriguez, Botafogo player. Botafogo's in a crisis right now because they have a transfer ban for the Thiago Almada transfer. They're not paying their money to Atlanta United. And Santi Rodriguez played for New York City SC. Man, he's a baller. But what does Botafogo's financial situation look like? I mean, I think a lot of people want James Rodriguez. I'm not big on that. Because I don't know what production he would have left in him in Major League Soccer at a DP level. You get him on TAM, different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
This is talking about a designated player replacement. I feel like James Rodriguez, it's a big name. You'd sell jerseys like we talked about. You'd sell that jersey, but I'm not sure that's the right move, and it doesn't seem like something that Kuntz would do. I mean, even Paulo Dybala, I don't see it happening, but shoot, might as well throw out that name, right? Throw out a big name. But I think realistically, my top two realistic options for the Galaxy would probably be Matty Bogus and Ryan Gauld. Maybe you could snatch Santi Rodriguez. You already have that relationship with Botafogo. Be like, hey, we don't want that Nascimento guy back, but we do have a player that we do want from you. But you guys, last topic of the pod tonight. What would your Riqui Puig replacement be, and how did the Galaxy go about replacing him? Could you see them maybe sign someone on a rental contract? Tab, start.
You know, I'm no scout, so I didn't bring a scouting report like you did, but I'm thinking a player that plays like a 9.5, someone that can play the 9, but it can also slot into the 10. So when Riqui comes back, they can possibly move up to that 9 position. And usually if you're playing the 9, you can definitely have a chance of playing out wide and being versatile. So maybe this could either be the U22 or the DP contract. So I think we definitely need to sign someone that can play centrally. I think that's the main goal for this season. And hopefully they're versatile and they can play out wide for the coming seasons in the future. And like you said, I think it needs to be a multi-year contract. So I don't think you can find someone that's just going to stick around for 1 year, then move off or something like that. The only player I can think of is like James Rodriguez, who's just trying to get minutes before the World Cup. But
yeah,
I can't see that happen like you said earlier.
Yeah. Dylan?
Yeah, I don't want the Galaxy to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. That's my biggest issue with the rental.
Yeah.
The guy, like we talked about it in our text thread with Harvey Elliott. I was like, that sounds great if Riqui Puig is back at the end of the year.
Yeah, right.
But the idea of getting a guy for 6 months and then the World Cup happens and he just goes back over to Europe, that doesn't make any sense to me. The logistics of it from the player's perspective and our perspective, I think that just doesn't align. I do want to see us go and use the full amount of the money, which would be a DP. And like I said, that's not an easy thing to replace. The only player within the league that I think you could use that money on would be Espinoza, right? Free agent.
Yeah.
Coming from the Smurfs. Does it still not on a club, which is interesting. And he's played in that 10 role. He can kind of do that. Obviously in San Jose played off the wing, but his creative numbers, I sent it to our text thread, they're ridiculous. Like if you go look at his expected assists and the numbers he was putting up with just a San Jose team that's been poor offensively for a long time. Last year they went back into form, but it showed just how good he can be on a good team. That interests me in the league. But honestly, if I was going to take a swing at someone in the league, a home run swing, right? You're saying, hey, like either the league's going to change and we're going to have 4 DPs or Peck's going to leave. I've got this like crazy wet dream for Diego Luna. I just think that he's a ridiculously wicked baller. And he's a 10 that can play off the wing. Like this guy's just got it all. I think he's got the flair of being a player that can work in LA. Yeah. He's carried a really awful, RSL team to playoff appearances. And I just think that RSL's in a spot where they just can't. I don't think they can hold on to a player of that talent. And I know they've got him contracted with club options for 2 years. That's not going to sit with him. No. With the ascension that he's taking, that becomes I'm a DP player or go ship me off. And I think if you were to go into their offices, if you're Will Kuntz and you say, hey, I want your guy, I'm going to start talking to him. Let's do it. I think that you could potentially get some leeway there. I have zero knowledge of this stuff. This is just my dream. And that's what I'd like because I love his hair and I think that he's awesome on the ball.
Sounds like he's a bit more of a player.
It's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
It's a pipe dream. But I had to put it out there.
Yeah. No, I think you want him as more of a player, but
I want him more as a friend, I think.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. No, Diego Luna would be an absolutely brilliant signing for the Galaxy.
I like that shout.
I guess my expectation was that he would go to Europe, but hey, we've seen that with players end up sticking in MLS. I mean, I thought Dejan was going to Europe and he stays, in MLS. Maybe it's the same thing. Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to beat the options you guys put out. Like Tap said, I'm not a scout. I don't really pay as much attention into who's available, who's not, because it's changing all the time. It feels like, personally, those things kind of happen around you, and you watch as those pieces fall into place. But that Mateusz Bogusz shout was really interesting. That Diego Luna one, I mean, the more I think of it, the more I like it. But the Christian Espinoza was also very interesting. Dylan mentioned those underlying numbers we saw. It's honestly really impressive. And that's what you thought the Galaxy missed last season. Someone who can create, who can set up these fantastic players, and Gabriel Peck and Joseph Painter, who maybe struggle at times to create their own shot, but they have shown, at least in the past, the capacity to finish those. So that would sort of fit that need. And like you mentioned, Payton, he could play multiple roles. If Riqui Puig were to return and he were to stick around, he's not one that has any options or anything yet. So it could be something interesting. So I think those would be my top 3 of the ones that you guys have mentioned: Espinoza, Bogusz, and Diego Luna. I like that shout as well. Yeah. But this is really Kuntz's opportunity to show what he's made of. He doesn't have the most time to work with. It's pretty restricted in a lot of different ways, but it's a massive. We need another home run. So this is where it's really crunch time for Robbie Ramaneni, especially time for him to bring up those numbers. I'm sure he's looked at the same numbers that Dylan looked at. So lots of different options for them to look at. But regardless, it's one that's you're not going to get 30 goal contributions like you might from Riqui Puig. But what this does, what we didn't have in 24 was at least somebody who could give us 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 goal contributions. So that alone is going to be a massive push in comparison to 2024. So the fact that that's an option, it's exciting in the fact that it gives us space to improve on from last year. I mean, we weren't that far from a playoff spot. If we could have a couple more goals to push us over that line, that might be all we need. So even if it's not any of Diego Luna, one of these star names that we're thinking about, it's going to help us in the long run. So again, like I mentioned at the top of the show, we kind of just got to sit back, trust that Kuntz is in the kitchen, and know that more likely than not, it's going to be someone who can help us.
Yeah, I've really liked what the Galaxy have done this offseason. I think the Riqui Puig injury is just so unfortunate because this team was lining up to honestly probably be in the MLS Cup this year, or at least be close to it. With the signings that we've made and the roster ascension, I do think, Tab, I'll let you speak next, but I think that the urgency of the Galaxy to get this player right and get this signing right is at the stake of people's jobs now. I think we've not been in this territory before. Maybe after 2023, maybe, but this is real crunch time now for Will Kuntz and Greg Vanney to get this signing right. So they've gone in league. They've gone in league with Hack. They've gone in league with Golesnes because they realized that, hey, we tried to bring Zonka in from Europe. We've tried European center backs. It's not working. It's not working. And we need somebody that we're sure can produce at a Major League Soccer level, barring some unreal fall off from like Jacob Golesnes or Justin Hack. You expect them. You know what you're going to get out of them, barring injury. Now, we're in interesting territory with attacking midfielders. I mean, Tab, do you have maybe an in-league option in mind?
So when Dylan said Diego Luna, that got my brain clogs kind of spinning. And I was thinking players that's similar to Diego Luna. Jesus Ferreira at Seattle Sounders. He's making 1.8 million. Yep, the Pirate of the Caribbean. He's at Seattle Sounders. He just signed from FC Dallas. Maybe Sal's looking to move on. They just re-signed Rothrock. They have a ton of attacking options. They got Jordan Morris. They got Danny Musovsky. They have a handful of forwards. I'm sure they wouldn't mind giving us one. So I'm thinking Jesus Ferreira, he can play the 10. He can play the 9. He's played out wide with Seattle as well as an outside attacking mid because they play a 4-2-3-1. So maybe something like him. That's one that just popped in my mind. So maybe I'm a little bit of a scout, but yeah, that's what I thought of.
Hey, you are a scout after all. You're a wizard, Harry.
I got my credentials.
Yeah, you got your scout credentials as stamped by the Talking Galaxy podcast. All right. We talked a bit about what this transfer window might end up looking like. I guess there's insider information on a U22 player coming soon, 18 years old, not Nascimento. So I would assume that would be an 18-year-old forward. Who knows? We'll have to see what happens over the next few days.
Is that you, Peyton? Are you the 18-year-old?
I'm 19. No, I'm out of content.
Jody. It's not you.
Jody. It's Jody. There we go. No, I think whoever we end up signing at the U22 will end up being a forward. 18 years old. I don't know. Who knows how accurate that information is? That guy's been wrong.
I think it's actually 21 years old, and he was at a D3 soccer team. So
yeah, right.
I mean, just saying, it might be me.
Right. That whole Mukoko thing where he's 20 years old, but now he's 25 now. All that madness that was going on in Dortmund. Okay, I want to talk about 2026. Much more of a transfer window to go. Obviously, U22 spot open, designated player spot open now. Maybe some cap space open for a backup winger or whatnot. What is your expectation going into the season looking like as it stands right now? We'll have more of a season preview as we go, but we'll start with you, Dylan. What's your expectation for 2026 looking like after the Riqui Puig injury?
My expectations are still relatively similar. I think we lost our championship ceiling with Riqui Puig, so I'm not going to tell you that I think we're going to win a title. Without Riqui, or until they show me that they're going to spend the cash on a DP, I can't tell you that window is still open. But I think this is still a very good team in a Western Conference that isn't very good. Right, the back end of that conference. I don't know how the hell we got out of Wooden Spoon last year. So my expectation is still playoffs. I expect us to make a deep run in CCC. I want to see us be competitive, get to the summer window, and then figure it out from there, because I think that there's options after the World Cup. There's players out of contract that might be thinking, you know what, I'm ready to call it quits. There's nothing more for me to continue to train for. I've got one player in mind at the 9 position that isn't Lua that I'll save for the very end as my signing off. I'll save it for that. But I'd like to see us be competitive and be in a spot where we can be like, okay, we got a player now in that TAM spot, that late addition, that Sun type of player where we can, or that DePaul role where you can be like, okay, now the championship window is back.
Right.
But just be competitive. Yeah. Do not lose 15 straight games or whatever it was. Don't do that to me again.
Heads will be rolling. Clear everybody out.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew, expectations just to wrap things up here.
Yeah, I think Dylan took the words out of my mouth. They're competing for a cup, for a title, making a deep playoff run. I don't think it's impossible, but it definitely, the prospect is a lot more difficult when you're missing the guy who dragged you to the MLS Cup final without an ACL. So without that extra emphasis, that's what it takes to really, get across those fine margins at the end of the season. It becomes difficult. But like we've talked about, this is a more experienced team, a much more complete team, and pretty similar, but in a lot of ways really different to that 2025 team. And even without making any additions, this looked like a team that could compete for playoffs, that could make deep runs in Leagues Cup and, international competition. And it's the same goal this year, to make a deep run in CONCACAF Champions Cup. We don't have Leagues Cup or Open Cup, so we have even less fixtures to worry about. I feel like we have more resources that we can spend more time investing in the things that at the end of the day really matter to most fans, which is the league and your Champions League. So if we can focus on that is a massive benefit. And yeah, to not make playoffs, I think, is going to be a massive indictment on this new group. That would really, I think, be one of the, it's hard to say the final nail in the coffin for Greg Vanney, just given how things have been. Let's say he misses playoffs, but has a good CONCACAF Champions Cup run. That might be a saving grace, whatever it may be. But things are going to call into question and be a lot more valid than I feel like they have in years past.
Yeah.
Because they do finally have this support around Danny. He's not making all these other decisions. He just has to focus on coaching, and he's getting, the players he wants, especially defensively. So it's going to be a real test, I think. We're going to find out who the Galaxy truly are. They've had some time to, figure out how to define themselves without Riqui Puig, and they're going to just reapply those same lessons with a lot of the same group, but a more experienced group. They're going to know a lot more what they're coming up against, and it's up to them to use that experience. And you hear players, coaches talk about experience being something that also takes you over the line in these playoff matches or winner go home matches, and we have that a lot more now. And again, it's a lot of these little things that, coupled with the signings of Glesnes and Hack and potentially a new U22, a new UDP in the summer, whatever it is, there's just so many little pieces that, despite one major piece falling, there is still a pretty impressive picture in the puzzle that is the LA Galaxy. So personally, I'm still hopeful. I might, be going through a little bit of what's that?
Deja vu.
Sorry?
Deja vu from 2025.
Yeah, but when you're kind of obsessed or still in love with your abuser, there's a syndrome there that I'm missing. I'm kind of
syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. There. Not that one. Maybe it depends on who you ask. I guess I haven't been tested. But...
ask Mato in the chat.
But some Stockholm syndrome where I just can't help but keep on having hope and being in love with this team, and I think it's going to give us some more joys at the very least. I really want to see some packed out stands. I want to have some more fun at the tailgates next year, and I think we'll have a team that we can be a lot more proud of than a 25 team at the very least.
Yeah, no, I hope so too. Tab?
Yeah, I think coming into maybe a week ago, everyone was on cloud nine. We have two new defenders. We have Riqui Puig coming back, and then I feel like we got hit with a bullet almost, but it really isn't a bullet because we still have such a great team if we look at it. I mean, we are missing Riqui Puig, but we have time to replace him, and I think people are overreacting, Galaxy fans. So I think we're still having a great season. I don't think, like you guys have said, I don't think we're at championship level right now. But with that one signing where Ricky's replaced and we get the 9, I think we're back in that conversation. So I have 2 musts for this season. I think we must get playoffs and we must get to at least the quarterfinals in CCC. Yeah. So those are my 2 musts. I don't care what anything else that happens. Hopefully we get a home playoff match so we can, or we're going to get one no matter what, but hopefully we can host the first match so we have a better chance of going through to the next round. So that's my dream scenario, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, totally. I think the expectation this year, I think pressure is finally on Greg Vanney and Will Kuntz. I mean, you could write off last year and say, hey, injuries, Riqui Puig being out, the just absolute dark magic run that we had in a bad way at the start of this season. I don't know who cast a Etsy witch spell on us, but it was not looking very good. I can excuse all of that, but I can't excuse anymore. I think it's time for this organization to get serious, and I think they've shown that they're serious. I think they've shown that they want to be MLS Cup contenders. They've reopened that window now for the Galaxy to start competing for MLS Cup, and I think it's time for this organization to actually replace, I think you can't look at 2027 and be like, we're going to throw away this year. 2027, we'll have Riqui back. Who knows what type of player Riqui will be when he's back? It's not a guarantee he'll ever be the same type of player, especially after missing 2 years. How many players end up missing 2 years and come back better? Not as many as the ones who come back regressed. I think, you're going to have him as a designated player either way. Love Riqui Puig, but it's time for the Galaxy to start looking forward as an organization. It's time for them to take everything that went wrong in 2025 and correct their mistakes in 2026. Will Kuntz has had plenty of nights to sleep on what happened in 2025. I think I agree with Tab 100%, spot on. CONCACAF quarterfinals, MLS playoffs, absolute must. If anybody wants to keep their job, and by the way, that pressure applies to Will Kuntz too. For as much as it applies to Greg Vanney, I think it also applies to Will Kuntz to get this number 10 signing right, to get that U22 signing right, to really elevate this team to where it needs to be. It's also on him because he's oversaw the best transfer window and he's oversaw the worst transfer window in Galaxy history. Those things have kind of offset at this point. So now it's time for him to prove it, and I think he's taken steps in the right direction. Galaxy, I would expect to be around a home playoff game spot. I talked about it last night on Lacuna Galaxia. Shout out to those boys. I think that the Galaxy have the tools to compete for a home playoff spot, but I don't know right now if it's much further than that. There is teams in Major League Soccer that are much more well-established than the Galaxy to compete at like almost a guarantee, top 4 spot. I could look at, what San Diego FC did. Maybe they'll regress a little bit, but they're still going to end up building a really good roster. I think they're going to be just a contender over the next few years. Time and time again, they're going to be one of those big clubs in MLS. LAFC, they're keeping the same core for the most part. They're not, Mark Dos Santos, I don't think was a great hire for them, but they're going to be similar to last season, in my opinion. And, you always have teams like Minnesota United, Seattle Sounders that just right now look better than the Galaxy, but I still think we compete around a home playoff spot. Maybe get that advantage in the first round. We'll have to see. But yeah, that's it, guys. Wow, long episode. We went way over. But it's the first one back. It was bound to happen anyway. Thank you all. Thank you everybody in the chat for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on the dot, we are live. We have live watch-alongs of all the away games as well. So make sure to tune in for that. If you're ever just watching a game on TV and you're like, I want to hear this guy blab. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but if you want to watch an away game and you want some commentary to it, we have live watch-alongs. Without further ado, thank you all in the chat. Thank you everyone for watching. Andrew, Dylan, Tab, thank you all for showing up. Appreciate having you guys on the podcast anytime. It's a pleasure. Where can people find you, Andrew?
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's so great to be back. I appreciate you guys, sticking with me as we're getting connected. I'm out in LA right now at my girlfriend's house. We just cut a Rosca de Reyes. My Latinos in the chat are going to know what's up with that. So we just about made it work, but really glad to be back. It was a really good time. We had a ton to talk about and some interesting conversation. Awesome to hear from Diego Fagundez. So again, subscribe. We might get some more of that on the pod. So definitely, be tuned in. But as for myself, I'm on Twitter at NGF Andrew, on Instagram at Nuestra Galaxia Futbolera. You can catch my weekly articles on Los Angeles Sports Nation. You can subscribe for free, get everything straight to your inbox. But yeah, get some coverage straight from the press box. Smoke Alarm is back in Virginia. I'm here in Cali for good. We fixed that place. We're good. We're good.
All right, perfect. Dylan, thank you very much for being on the podcast. You and Andrew are welcome on anytime. Regulars on the podcast going into season 2. Where can people find you and your work?
Yeah, let me do my thank you, Tori. Thank you guys for having me on and letting me talk to a professional player. And thank you to Diego for letting me spew questions at him that totally he was not ready for, which is awesome. I want to thank Andrew's girlfriend for sitting there patiently through this entire thing, listening to me talk. Must nauseate most people because, like, my girlfriend, she probably hates it. That's why she locks me in her guest bedroom. So, just thank you for having me. I'm so excited for season 2. I'm excited to come back on and spew my nonsense because I come on with as much as I can. But you can find me and all the stuff that we do on COC Network. It's on YouTube and all the socials that you can find us. We have clips coming out every day. And Andrew's on our Clash of Cosmos podcast. We talk about the galaxy. But yeah, those are the places. I thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Shout out Clash of
Cosmos Clubs, COC Network, Cock Network, whatever you want to call it. We're there. We're there.
It's like Clash of Clans.
Yeah, that's it. That was the inspiration.
Perfect. Tab, Mr. Galaxy Runs LA, Mr. EFL Championship bound. Where can people find you and your Liverpool fans?
West Ham. First off, West Ham staying up and Barca winning the UCL. You've heard it here first.
Oof.
But I'm Galaxy Runs LA on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
As for myself, I'm LA Galaxy _Buzz on Instagram. Thank you so much, Diego Fagundez, for hopping on the podcast tonight. Maybe we'll have him back again. Hopefully he'll be in Galaxy colors next season. If not, best of luck wherever he ends up landing up. Or wherever he ends up landing, we'll have it on the podcast. We'll have that news for you. That's where you can find me, at LA Galaxy _Buzz. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, you guys are great, brilliant in the chat. Make sure to like and subscribe if you already haven't. And peace out, guys.